the flip side of that is there's a lot of essays who do not know the brand. They are not familiar. You could walk in there with a fake item and they would just assume it's real. So, hey guys, it's Connor and welcome back to my channel, The Closet. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. And if you were returning, well, welcome back. So before I get into the video and what I'm going to be talking about today, I wanted to just let you know that I've started a Instagram account purely for, or like to complement the content that I post on my YouTube channel. And I think that's a lot easier because I kept getting, I got lots of like YouTube tag videos in like my personal Instagram or my business Instagram for Conrad's Closet, and I felt like people were so confused and it was really confusing because I had like 500 Instagrams. So now I've just made a dedicated one. So all my YouTube followers, please follow this account. It is The Closet by Connor, and that will be primarily where I will do like, if I have like a little unboxing or something that I don't think deserves a whole video, or if I'm out shopping, or if I am doing polls, if I am doing what do you guys want to see on my YouTube channel posts, that's all that content is going to be on there. So do it right now, get your phones out, I'm watching you. But it's The Closet by Connor. Okay, now that you've all followed my Instagram account, this video is going to be my next Hermès Q&A video, so part 2 I guess, because my previous Hermès Q&A video, I had so many questions, but I didn't want to put it all in one video, and I didn't want to like, you know, just pile on you all with the one. But then since I posted that, I got a lot more questions as well that were really, really valid. So I'm gonna do it all in this video. So keep watching, stay tuned, get a wine, you know, get a whatever you wanna drink, just enjoy. So the first question I'm gonna be talking about is how do Hermès date stamp, date code their bags? Because it has changed a lot in the years, and even as a seller, I see people going, I don't know where the date code is, I don't know what stamp this is, I don't know what year it is, and Hermès have purposely made it quite difficult to navigate the date code system, and obviously this is to battle off counterfeits and to be unpredictable with how they're going to code their bags. So from 1997 up until 2013 or 14, I think it was 2013, Hermès placed a letter in a square as their date stamp, and that sat behind the sangle of a Birkin or Kelly, for example. Let's just talk for Birkin and Kelly's because some of the other bags have different locations of the date codes, but for argument's sake, let's just use a Birkin and a Kelly. So the sangles are the little flap parts that you can pull, like, can you see it? These bits, and on the back of the hardware plate on the sangle, that is where the date code would sit. And yeah, so from 1997 up until 2013, they would place a letter inside a square and it would be like S or whatever. Halfway through 2013, was it 2013? I think I'm saying that wrong. Let me double check. It was 2014, sorry. They used the letter R in a square, and then halfway through that year, they just got rid of the square and they were just doing an R. So that year obviously was quite confusing because there were like 2 different methods. Also, they would have like the letter and then they would have either a random symbol, like, you know, that mathematical symbol that looks like that? I don't even know what it is, pi or something. No, it's not pi. I don't know, but it's something. Or they would have like a star, or they would have like hourglass. They'd have heaps of different symbols. And then they would have a few other numbers and letters. No one really knew for sure, but basically the date code was the year it was produced. The symbol was like the level that the artisan who made it was. So if they had a special symbol like a star or something, that means they were quite advanced. And then there would be like the factory code, and then there were some other numbers that were accompanied by that. So then towards the end of 2014, they ditched the square. Then when we came to 2015, it was T-stamp, and that was just a standalone T-stamp by itself. And then they went straight to X for 2016, so they skipped the other letters of the alphabet. And then after X, they moved on to A. So once they moved on to A, Hermès completely ditched the whole format of date coding like they had done previously. They moved the date codes to the inside of the bag, and so if you're picturing picturing the inside of a Birkin or a Kelly, right towards the back where the zip is, on the back left, is that right? Yeah, the back left corner, there's like a date code up there. They removed the letter that obviously the date code sat in, and then they also removed the use of symbols. Basically, they jumbled all the numbers together, and you didn't know if the A was the date code, if it was the artisan's code, you didn't know. If you were stuck with the date code, the best thing to do is Google Hermès date codes, and there's lots of websites that have a log of all the different date codes. No one can be expected to remember like all the ins and outs, but they change their date code formatting all the time, and even now they will either skip a letter, so it'll be like A, they skipped B, C, D, they didn't do E, and they just went straight to Y, and now that in this current year we're in Z. So there is completely like no method of logic. It's just primarily whatever Hermès feel like doing, and that's great because it means that counterfeits do not have a chance to predict and produce bags. So that's the whole reason why they do it like that. The next question is it possible to purchase a brand new Hermès bag from the boutique with a previous year's date code? And the answer to this is yes. There have been numerous times where somebody has purchased like an Evelyn or a Pinkerton or a bag that isn't one of the quota bags that has had a date code on it from a previous year. And to be more precise, I actually saw on one of the Facebook groups a lady in America who had purchased a Evelyn, I think it was a GM, so the really big size, that was from like 3 years prior. And she was like, this bag isn't real, like why is it so old? And cut a long story short, the bag was obviously authentic and she had purchased it from the boutique, but it had obviously just been there for a while and nobody had bought it. So they're not going to do the old Louis Vuitton where they, you know, get rid of bags because they haven't sold or whatever. Hermès will keep it until it sells. They're not going to destroy it. I purchased I think my, what was it? Oh, my CDC 24 bracelet. I purchased that in 2020, but the date code was for 2019. And I bought it in like June 2020. So it does happen, and it doesn't mean that your item is inauthentic. It just means that it was produced in the year before or a few years before and it hasn't sold, and there's nothing wrong with that. The third question, and this is a very, very good question too. I mean, they're all good questions, but this one's extra good. It is, what determines a bag's price? And I think the context behind this question was why they're like, if you put a Birkin 30 in, say, a dark blue color with palladium hardware next to a taupe Birkin 30 with gold hardware, why is the taupe one cost more than the blue one? And significantly, like why is there such a discrepancy in the price? And this is primarily due to the fact that certain colors, hardware, and total combinations of all three with bags from Hermès have a high demand. And basically, neutrals, when a seasonal color has just come out and it's very popular, like bubblegum pink colors and like a pastel-y blues and those sorts of very like colorful but neutral colors, they hold high value with Hermès. Top that off with like Togo leather, which is very popular. Top that off with gold hardware, which is a lot more popular than palladium hardware. I'm a palladium hardware person, but people prefer gold hardware with Hermès bags. When you have a combination of all three of those in a bag, the value for it highly increases. So if you've got a taupe with gold hardware in a Birkin 25 versus a blue Nui palladium hardware Birkin 25 in Epsom, the taupe one is always going to be a lot more expensive. And it's just because these neutral colors have been with Hermès for a very long time. They're not a seasonal color. They're something that they're like their classic range of colors. B, they are they're so neutral that they go with what's it called, like all of your clothes. And they're almost like the equivalent of getting like a red Ferrari. Like it's classic. It's so quintessential to the brand. And these types of colors, you know, they're never going to go out of style because they're a neutral, right? So that's primarily due why, you know, certain colors have such high equity, I guess. Also, when it comes to seasonal colors or colors that don't come out very often, when they come out, or when they have come out originally, so like Vert Cricket, for example, came out last year or the year before, it's like this pastel-y green color. I remember I read it on the Purse forum that this Vert Cricket was coming out in the following season, or had just come out, and I went into Hermès and I was talking to the SA, and I just wanted to see the colors, because sometimes you see them online and the colors look different to how they look in person, and just for my own knowledge, I wanted to see what these colors were. And I showed the SA and I said, oh, like, do you have anything in this Vert Cricket? Because it looks, I've seen different photos and it looks kind of different in all the photos. And she was like, oh, that color doesn't look very nice. I've never seen that before. She goes, that would not be popular. Turns out it was probably one of the most popular colors of that year. And now people are trying to special order Birkins and Kellys in Vert Cricket. People want SLGs in Vert Cricket. So it's one of those things that you just don't know how popular a seasonal color is going to go. And then once it becomes very popular, the resale market for it is just highly driven. The prices are, you know, a third higher than the retail for these types of bags. So that's another reason why different colors and different combinations just have, I don't know, they just fetch such a large price. The fourth question is, will Hermès authenticate an item for me if I walk into the store with it? And the answer is no, they will not authenticate anything for you. I don't think any of the fashion houses will authenticate items. And whilst there are a lot of SAs in these boutiques who are familiar with the brand, they've been around them for a very long time and they could potentially authenticate, the flip side of that is there's a lot of SAs who do not know the brand, they are not familiar. You could walk in there with a fake item and they would just assume it's real. So they don't authenticate items. The closest thing you could possibly do to getting it, I guess, officially authenticated by Hermès without actually getting authenticated is you could opt to send an item that you believe may be fake to the Hermès spa. They will send it away, and then if it is deemed inauthentic, you will get a letter back from Hermès saying the item you had sent is not consistent with the Hermès brand and it has been destroyed. So you'll get a letter saying it's fake, you won't get the bag back, but that's probably the closest thing you'll get. The fifth question is, what is a CITES certificate? So CITES certificate, and why do I always see it with exotic bags being sold on the pre-loved market? This is a great question, and for those of you who do not know what a CITES certificate is and why they are produced, basically a CITES certificate is accompanied by any exotic leather luxury good purchased from the fashion houses. Now, I don't know about other brands or, like other types of industries with exotic leathers. I can only talk about what I know with the fashion houses, but Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermès, if you purchase any exotic leather item, whether it be a full crocodile bag, whether it be a card holder with a 5-cent piece of lizard skin or 5-cent piece size of crocodile skin, you will be issued a CITES certificate. And a CITES certificate is basically a treaty that all of the countries signed saying that they will not export or import endangered species animals, and the certificate is accompanied with exotic leathers to prove that that leather used in that item is not an endangered species. Whether the bag is a complete, you know, huge size or a tiny little thing, they have to issue that certificate when exporting and importing. And because most of these exotic leather items are produced in Europe, to send it to Australia, to send it to Asia, to the boutiques, they have to have that export certificate. There was a what's it called? A incident or a case or whatever, I read it online. It was either last year or the year before, where a woman in Paris had sent over a YSL crocodile bag. Sorry, phone's going off. A YSL crocodile bag to Australia, and it did not have the CITES export certificate, and when it arrived in Australia, customs destroyed the bag. And they're allowed to do that. Any country is allowed to do it if the CITES certificate is not accompanying the item. The next question is, does Hermès use real gold on their hardware? And the answer is no. They do not use real gold or rose gold on their hardware. It is gold-plated brass, and then the rose gold is rose gold-plated brass, and then the palladium hardware or silver hardware is palladium on brass. So for those who don't know what palladium is an alloy It's a lot more resistant to rust and corrosion than like stainless steel, for example, and it's a lot more durable and can be polished and buffed out, and it doesn't tarnish as easily as stainless steel or nickel or whatever. But yeah, they don't use, I don't know, originally, I think originally actually they must have used 24 karat gold for their, is it 24 karat gold? Yeah, for their hardware like Chanel did, but now it's just not a reality, and I'm not really sure why, but I'm assuming it's to do with the cost. My last question is, do Hermès have a documentary that I could watch because I'm really interested in the brand? Yes, they do, and I actually discovered this documentary years ago. It must have been like 2017 now. And it is called Hearts and Craft, and it is filmed in a few of the workshops that Hermès make their leather goods in Paris. This documentary is amazing. It's so candid, and it's very like a bit contradictory for Hermès almost, because they're so elusive and secretive with their brand and things like that, but then they have a documentary where you're going into the workshops, you're talking to the artisans, and it's amazing. It's all in French, of course, but there is English subtitles, and a lot of the visuals that you see in it speak volumes. Like, you don't even have to, like, you could watch it on mute basically. But it's called Hearts and Craft. I'll pop the link down in the description bar, because there is a good link online. I've actually downloaded the link and downloaded it with like a, you know, those like URL converter things. So I watch it all the time. But it's a really, really good documentary, and it's a great visual to see how passionate the artisans are, and a great visual to see them working in their workshops. I had in my head like a vision of what the workshops would look like, and it was completely different to how I actually saw it. So it's definitely something I would recommend you guys check out, and like I said, I'll pop the link for it down in the description bar. So anyways, guys, that is my part 2 of my Hermès Q&A. If you have any other questions or things you want me to answer, pop them down in the comment section below. Reach out to me on my new Instagram account for my YouTube content, The Closet by Connor, so make sure you're following that as well. And keep doing what you're doing. I'm so thankful that I get to interact with you guys all the time. It's really, really lovely to be able to talk to people across all different countries who we all kind of share the same passion. I really love it, and I really appreciate all the love and support that you guys have given me. But like I said, keep reaching out with questions, because who knows, there might be a part 3 of my Hermès Q&A. But thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.